everyone. My name is Julia Ferrioli. My pronouns are she, her. It is a wonderfully cool day in Seattle, and it is currently, if I recall my dates correctly, the 25th of July. And I'm here with Anita Ihuman for Open Source Stories. Anita, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, Julian. Hi, everyone. I am Anita Ihuman. I am a developer advocate and a technical writer and a DEI advocate as well, and an open source huge fan. So I do a lot of work in open source, which I'll most likely be sharing, and I'm really happy to be here today.
Thank you, Anita. So before we kind of dig into the open source side of things, we tend to like to start with trying to get you to know you a little bit better outside of tech. So what kind of music are you into these days?
Okay. Well, I'm going to first of all pick Afrobeat because yes, it's always the Afrobeat that comes first because that's the first jam I'd go to.
Mm-hmm.
And um, aside Afrobeat, I do like R&B because it can be really relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
And very few times I just want to listen to, melodies, maybe like, those kind of songs without lyrics, just
Yes.
yeah. I kind of enjoy listening to those on like maybe a rainy day with the raindrops on the roof and everybody's just cozy. Yeah.
You're describing one of my perfect days. I love when it's drizzly out and just relaxing. Uh,
Yeah.
um, do you find that when you're working, there's a particular type of music you listen to, or is it just kind of um, do you prefer silence when you're working?
Now it's funny because I don't listen to music when I'm working. I almost never listen to music because it feels like there's a lot of chaos in my head and the music worse.
I totally get that. I had a time in my life where I would just require complete silence, and now it's like I need some background distraction. I wonder what that says um, about getting older. We'll find out. Uh, so, kind of shifting back to the tech side of things, what first kind of got you into technology and open source?
Okay. Well, it's funny because originally I'm a microbiology student, and in my final year, so I was at that stage where everyone asks this question: What am I going to do if I leave this environment? And that was a really big question for me because I know I did dabble a lot of things. I know how to do like crafted or handmade footwears. I got into doing like a few trades here and there, and I wasn't sure which would be a long-term career for me. But then I had these classmates that were into tech, and they really seemed cool. I mean, they had like backpacks or laptops, always wearing cool shirts, and I'm like, "Oh, I want to look like those kids. But I'm doing microbiology. I don't have this background, so how do I do it? So I got closer and I asked a couple of questions. And it's good because I realized that people are actually willing to help if you ask the right questions. And so I got like a bunch of resources. It was confusing and chaotic at first, but with the help of my friends, always asking questions and getting the right answers, sharing necessary resources. I first got into tech as a front end developer, and I thought that was it for me because I'm like, okay, I enjoy it here, so let's go into it. But like 6 months in, and I heard about open source after the first open source community Africa conference. Like there was so much fuss about it, and I was eager to know why there was so much fuss about this one conference. And then I heard that you can make contributions to actual projects without getting employed, and you can add it as experience. And I'm like, okay, this is a good opportunity. I might just dig into this and pave my way around, this tech stuff. So I decided to give it a go. The first trial wasn't so smooth because I was one of the silent people in the community that never said anything. Just come in and breeze out without making any contributions. And this went on for a couple of months. That was like in the Gnome community.
Okay.
I was part of the sustainable onboarding team. So like I barely even made a good number of contributions there, but I really enjoyed that the community was willing to put together a group focused on onboarding people, which was really helpful, right? And through that, I also got to know about a few open source programs led by She Code Africa. It was basically a hackathon where non contributors get introduced to open source projects and start contributing. So I was like, okay, maybe this another avenue to find a project that I like. And it was actually because I got in touch with the Layer 5 community where I attempted creating my first pull request. And I still say this every single time, but I spent over a week on one pull request because I had no idea of Git and GitHub. And for me, I was like, okay, maybe this is a sign that I should stop because no one goes through one issue this long. Maybe this is a sign that I should stop and try other things. But the community also was helpful, and I did ask a couple of questions back and forth. So I managed to get the pull requests merged. And after that, I was like, okay, if I can do this, maybe I could give it another shot, maybe just try one smaller issue. And that was it. I just picked it up from there.
That's quite the tale from microbiology to layer 5. That's a big journey that you've had.
Yeah.
I'm I'm still hoping we bring lab coats into open source somehow, but I understand the appeal of the open source dress code or lack thereof. Um, it seems as though you have been focused and enthusiastic about the onboarding experience, the new contributor experience to both projects and communities. And I'm kind of wondering, what sort of lessons or insights have you seen through that work?
Okay, so I think the reason why I'm interested in the first place was because of my experience getting involved. Now, knowing that I was from a non-technical background, but I was curious enough to want to get involved, it was difficult to get in. Aside the fact that there were so many persons to help, it was actually difficult because every single time I had to question whether I was in the right place and whether I actually belonged in this space. And why I have been championing topics around inclusion, onboarding is basically because I noticed that difficulty from my end. And I try to, in every community I find myself, I try to see that, okay, any other person that comes in shouldn't have to like go through that hassle of breaking into an open source community if they want to contribute simply because they're from either a non-technical background or they have very little knowledge about what they're contributing to, so long as they're eager to actually make efforts in that particular community. Yeah, so that has been what the driving force for me.
I gotcha. Um, I keyed in on a word that you said, which was belonging. And it is it can be very difficult to feel as though you belong in an open source project or an open source community. So, what does belonging look like or feel like to you?
Well, for me, I wouldn't say the word family, but like it's just a place that you don't have to be on your toes at every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you want to either make a suggestions or feel threatened that your voice is going to it's not going to be heard. So like that feeling of belonging is basically being in a place where you feel welcome, you feel at peace making your contributions, you don't feel threatened by every other person's feedback towards your contributions. And when you make those contributions, you feel good about yourself regardless of how minor the changes might be, because yeah, you feel that peace within that particular space or environment.
I feel like you've hit the three sort of states within a community, feeling like you don't have to be on guard,
Yeah.
so that you feel welcome in the first place. You feel empowered to make suggestions, to contribute your ideas, um, and that you feel safe in and fulfilled in the work that you're doing there. I mean, that's it. It seems so straightforward, but it's actually so complex, right?
Yeah.
Um, so what you've been working in this space for quite some time now, and I know you wanted to talk about the community health aspect in your story today. So, what have you experienced and learned around community health when it comes to open source?
Okay, well, so I've been in the open source space. This is going to make it the third year, and I'm really happy that I've been consistent all through that. But something that I have come to notice is in a situation or when you find yourself in a community where the leaders are conscious of topic on inclusion, or like are aware of the struggles of getting involved, you will see that they actually make efforts to get other persons not to experience those struggles or those challenges. And it's like not a common thing for most communities, because the only time that, okay, let me put it this way, you can only talk about a challenge when you've actually experienced it, either first hand or third hand, it doesn't matter, but like when you've experienced it, then you can share about it. Now it's the same thing as finding solutions to that problem. You can only figure out the need to find a solution when you've actually seen that that is a problem. And like for most communities that I have been a part of, I've seen that the leaders within this community actually have an idea of, okay, this problem exists, this there's an elephant in the room, and if I don't address it, my community is going to suffer from this particular thing. And so they go ahead to address it. But then there's still some communities out there that this awareness is lacking. And so it makes it difficult for certain persons to break into these communities, like in as much as today there's so much talk about diversity and inclusion, there's so much talk about community health and metrics and all of that. There's still like communities that the awareness is not so much, and like individuals still have to go through so much struggles when they want to break in, and at the end of the day it discourages them from actually making effort. Now take for instance, if my first time contributing to open source here, I had a very terrible experience, considering that I was entering with fear or I was actually making effort with fear and doubt. I feel like if I had a bad experience on the first time trying, I would have never tried again.
Hmm.
And like that experience for most people sticks in and keeps them out completely. And for others, it's like a challenge, try harder, but not every single person is that um can resist that feeling to try again. So yeah.
Yeah, I often kind of think of that as the silent exits, the people that came, dipped their toes in, but silently left. They're not going to make an announcement, right? They're just going to leave, and you won't know what caused them to discontinue engaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think silent quitting is a common thing for most people that do not have the willpower to address the problem, and so you just never hear from them again.
Yeah, and I think it goes beyond willpower necessarily, because it might just not be worth it for them to resist the unwelcome atmosphere, right? Um, so what efforts are there around improving community health that you've been involved in, maybe?
Okay, well, on my end, I have been a part of like a number of communities that talk about sustainability, community health. For instance, the chaos community I've been involved in like a couple of months since I started contributing. And then I got to know more about topics on community health because originally it was just something that I was curious about, but getting to communities like chaos gave me like insight to what this is all about. And I see that yes, there are solutions, there are existing solutions, but enforcement is a thing that is still lacking with these solutions that are available. And I'm still like um contributing to other communities like sustain,
Mhm.
that also talks about sustainability of open source around still this community health that we're still talking about. SDDI community by Linus Foundation, still talking about inclusion within the development space, and so many others that you just dip your hands to know what's going on, what are they talking about. And one common thing that I have seen is these communities collectively are striving towards one thing, to see that the general environment, not just that community, general open source environment feels or gets impacted by some of these methods which they're proposing. And the common challenge is the adoption and the spread of these particular topics, because you see that yes, there's actually a lot of work being done within these communities if you get involved. I never knew how much topics metrics had to do in terms of community health until I got into chaos, and I'm like, okay, metrics do go a long way. And recently I also got to find out about the non-focus DEI community that also develops like measures around open source events and conferences, which is a thing that I think if the adoption was much, then the reports on challenge on like some of these challenges that people experience within open source conferences will be reduced. And these things have been existing for long, but like the widespread of it seems to be a struggle till today. And I'm still yet to figure out why, but I really hope that someday I'm able to use my efforts to make impact to a wider spread of topics around community health.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually didn't know about some of these efforts. I did know about the chaos side of things, um, but the num focus one is new to me, so I'm going to check that out. Uh, with the various kind of approaches that you've seen, what has been the most effective, in your opinion, to improving community health and
Okay.
diversity inclusion?
Well, I really think that it's easier to approach a problem if you're aware of the problem. And for most communities, the topics on welcoming or belonging is really strange. And so you see, it's not like people come upward to say, okay, I don't want you here. But like we experience it in microaggression and like these micro biases, which is as a result of not being aware or not being knowledgeable of what you're doing, or like how wrong it is for you to address people in certain ways or talk to people in certain ways or deprive people of things because of how you feel or past experiences. Some persons are not knowledgeable of this, and like I think it's like a factor that is still existing out there. The fact that the knowledge is not there is still a struggle. But how do I think this can be addressed? I think getting to know communities like chaos and understanding that these metrics can actually be used. If people are knowledgeable of, oh, this metric exists, why does it exist, this is why it exists, and this is the problem it addresses. If people are knowledgeable of just that simple thing, then if at that point some persons still go as far as making a place uncomfortable for other people, then you know that they're doing it out of, share, what's the word, they're doing it intentionally to make the other person, yeah, so it's like they're doing it consciously, not because they're unaware at this point. So like I think these metrics that exist can do a lot, or like the measures from, let's say, the non-focused community, they can do a lot. The chaos best practices, they can also do a lot. But like the knowledge, the general public knowledge of these things is still very limited, which makes the how people react to things on community health still it's still a shaky topic, I would say.
Absolutely. The awareness in and of itself is, it can be a challenge. It's like if you already know it's a problem, you're going to work to improve it, hopefully.
Yeah.
But there are certain projects out there that seem to be steadfastly in denial that there's that they have a problem in the first place. So,
Oh yeah, I think that is another angle that I still haven't figured out how this can be tackled, because there are communities that exist that are aware of um, topics on community health generally, not just diversity and inclusion, generally community health. But it's not their main priority, because to them they're selling a product and not they're not selling people's well-being, they're selling a product. And so long as the product is being bought or accepted by people, they're completely fine. Every other thing can, just wait or hang around.
yeah. I've definitely seen that as well. Yeah. Well, we're quickly running out of time. Though I imagine we could keep talking for quite some time on this topic. I guess in closing, what advice do you have for projects who maybe want to proactively look at their community health?
Well, in my opinion, I would say pointing out the existing challenges would be a good place to start. So many communities do not take topics on yet. Yeah, we're talking about numbers, and the numbers might not really mean much, but like looking at the data does help a lot, because every once in a while, I think it's fair that a community should try adopting like surveys or just studying how the community feels about their current status in terms of health and belonging. How does the community feel about this? Is there a way that we can improve? Are there areas we are doing poorly that we could work on? And then going out there to look for existing solutions to these problems that your community has pointed. Now, there are so many solutions that exist, but because it is not a topic that people prioritize, they don't bother to look for the solutions to the problem.
Mhm.
And so, like, when you find out the problems through your surveys or through studying your community, you can go out to find solutions either by metrics or best practices, or just setting a team that can actually look at this and address all of these challenges for you. And then I think that's a good place to start. I mean, there's so much that can be done, but that's a good starting point.
I think that's a great suggestion. And data can be so powerful, but data combined with stories or like even short answer surveys is just, it really drives the point home. So I really love that you mentioned surveys in there as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Anita, for joining us on Open Source Stories today. Um, and we're just delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much, Julia. I think this was great. I'm glad I could share this story.